Hello, New Wave of British Heavy Metal.com here. Today it's the 19th of March 2023. As usual, a little favour to begin with, and that's if you wouldn't mind subscribing to the channel, please. That'd be marvellous, appreciating and a big help, so do click the button if you would. Today, looking at a debut album from a band called The Flood, and it's titled Hear Us Out. Now, there's quite a lineup involved here. Because we've got Chris Ousey on vocals, of course, from like Heartland and Snake Charmer. Jim Kirkpatrick on guitar from FM. Didge Digital on keyboards, who was in FM. The excellent Nigel Glockler from Saxon on drums, and none other than Billy Sheehan, you know, Mr. Big, Talus, Winery Dogs, and lots of others on bass, right? What a lineup, right? And they've put together here a proper good old-fashioned hard rock album full of songs that are really spot on, and so what you'd expect from a seasoned bunch of musicians like this with such an impressive track record between them. They know what they're doing and they show it to full effect here on this album. Now, Chris Ousey's vocals are typically smooth and powerful. Kirkpatrick churns out the riffs and blazing solos, yet measured effortlessly. He's all over this album, all over it. I've been an admirer of Nigel Glockler's drumming for many decades, and I'm saying that despite me not being much of a Saxon fan. I think he's a superb drummer, and he really puts in a fine stint on this album. And of course, Billy Sheehan does what Billy Sheehan does best, with that unmistakable bass sound. And Didge Digital comes in with some nice swelling keys and some really nice deft touches when he's called up front. We've got a dozen songs here with around about 50 minutes total running time. There's nothing wasted, nothing overblown, nothing to fill out time just for the sake of it. The songs are punchy, heavy, tight, to the point, and say superbly performed, as you'd expect, given the names that are involved here. And as I've mentioned, you know, Kirkpatrick's guitar is particularly outstanding. He stamps his class all over this album. And that's clearly evident from the opener, Dangerous Dawn. You know, the Flood are onto a winner here. Dangerous Dawn, say that upbeat hard rocker, huge hook, big chorus, Ousey's vocals, class personified. Kirkpatrick's authoritative guitar, all backed up with that huge rhythm section of Glockler and Sheehan. You know, and it kind of sets the template for what's to come of the remaining 11 songs. Of those, just to pick some out, The Devil He Don't Care and Flight or Fight, fine pair of classic hard rockers. Can I Call It Home slows it down a little bit, being a moody ballad style affair, and that lets Ousey further demonstrate his range and his more soulful side. And then we've got songs like The Flood and Stand Up, which send things up to 11 and beyond. And yet again, Kirkpatrick's guitar work is outstanding, and Digital's flourishing keyboard interplay brings a mix up as well. So there's no duff stuff whatsoever on this album. All the way through, it's first-class, proper, hard, heavy rock with a lot of feeling to it. Now, The Flood, that might arguably be a bit of a daft name for a band, though with the calibre that we've got here, say Chris Ousey, Kirkpatrick, Glockler, Sheehan and Digital coming up with an album as good as this. Who cares what they're called, right? Because it's all about the music, and the music is first class. Outstanding stuff from an outstanding lineup. And let's hope it's not a one-off and there's more to come from The Flood. I'll drop a link to the album as always on Amazon underneath the video, so you can check it out there in, you know, various formats and whatnot. And if you're an admirer of Chris Ousey or just general classy hard rock in a similar vein here, have a look at an album that Chris did with Steve Mann, which came out in the middle of last year. That's called Anybody Listening. That's not dissimilar to what The Flood have done, and it's certainly a most recommended lesson. So I'll drop a link to that video up in the top right hand corner, which should appear in one of those card things that you can click through to check that out as well. So there we are. That's The Flood. Hear Us Out. Top class, proper classic heavy rock. So there we are. Check it out. Link below. Please subscribe to the channel before you go. That'd be great. Really would. And as always, thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and take care.